Meet Phil Harris, not just producer, but a Latin tech house sensation hailing from Cardiff. With a personality as vibrant as his beats, Phil's unique blend of skill and charisma has sparked a wildfire across social media platforms. With 224,000 followers on Instagram and 300k YouTube subscribers, Phil's impact doesn't stop at impressive numbers. Through his transformative mentorship programs, he's already uplifted over 3,000 artists, guiding them from hidden gems to headline acts. Quick fire a bunch of questions, and we're going to try and rattle off as much as possible just in terms of what it is to be a DJ or music producer. Cool?
Yes, do it. Yeah.
I want before we get into stuff, I want to take it back to the earlier question I had about any common misconceptions about becoming a DJ that you want to debunk.
Yeah. The biggest one is I've grown a huge following online teaching people how to DJ. And the reality is the biggest DJs on the planet spend 2% of their time in front of DJ decks and 98% of their time producing music. It's just the reality. It's just the reality. Like, you go and look at any festival lineup anywhere in the world, and even the little names at the bottom, the tiny font at the bottom, go onto Spotify, type in their names. You're going to find they've got a couple of 100,000 monthly listeners, people listening to their music. And so I think it's one of these frustrating things. I think there probably was a time in life where you could just be a really good DJ. And I think you can be a really good DJ and have a really good career. There's a lot of DJs out there making a lot of money because they're playing really good clubs. They're just the resident DJ in a good club and they're just very good at it, right? And they're just top DJs. That's absolutely the case. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who are headlining festivals, traveling around in the jet planes, living that DJ lifestyle we all want. Well, I say we all, I want, right? Which is like standing on big festival stages, like flames shooting out in front of you on the stage. You're like, if you want that, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get there just by being very, very good at DJ.
We'll get back to the pod in just a second, guys. Thank you, Eden, for sponsoring this podcast and making it a reality. Make sure you all hang around to the end because we've got some huge giveaways that you cannot miss. Let's go.
Maybe you might get there if you're very, very good at doing remixes, mashups, because there's a lot of people who've grown on TikTok and Instagram and TikTok by doing good mashups regularly, and these mashups get millions, and that, like, they get there. But even there's that guy called Wookie, Wuki, and he doesn't do DJ mashups, he produces remixes. So just in case anyone's wondering, the difference is a mashup you can do on your DJ decks. You get an instrumental of one track and you get the a cappella, just the vocals of another track, and you can lay one over the other, right? It's kind of complicated and it doesn't always sound good, but we've all heard mashups. Now, a remix is different. It's when you get the a cappella and then you make the track behind it. You do it. You basically produce a track with an a cappella over it. So, you know, like Kygo did a Sexual Healing remix, right? And that was one of the things that broke him into the scene. Well, that wasn't a mashup because he didn't take an existing track. He took the a cappella and made a whole new track with it. So that's a remix. So you can get that by doing remixes and mashups, right? But you have to kind of know production really to start doing this. So even that, you've got to be able to do production. So that is, as far as I'm concerned, the number one misconception. People follow me because they want this and they're learning how to DJ. And it's like, it's frustrating. And I'm trying to show people this now. But really, if they want to get to the top, they've got to be making their own music. And here's the other thing I'll say as well. A lot of people get very demoralized by that because music production is far more complicated than DJing. But what people don't tell you is it's unbelievably fun and it's so rewarding. And people who follow my Instagram and see me just standing there fist pumping to music I'm making and stuff, like, there's nothing better than making your own beat and going, this is freaking epic. And then there's nothing better than playing one of your own tracks out to an audience and seeing people screaming and jumping. It's like, wow. You are literally screaming and jumping about to a track that I sat in my office clicking buttons Like, it's the craziest thing ever. It's
What
awesome.
was the what was the statistic that you said on your Instagram reel? Wasn't it 80% of DJs don't actually
Yeah,
produce their own
I
music?
think it's higher. I think it's higher. I
Yeah.
read that somewhere, but I think it's higher than that. Because
Yeah, I
like
think
I know millions of people who've got DJ decks. Well, I mean, I literally all these people who watch my Instagram reels, like they've all got DJ decks, and I can't imagine. Say like my Instagram gets about 1 million views like a month, so profile visits. Oh no, hold on, is it profile visits? I don't know on my phone. It's views,
is it
right?
reach
So
or views?
I think it's views. Right? Well, let's just say there's 1 million people there, right? Don't tell me 800,000 of them are producing music.
Yeah.
But then hold on, I don't know whether that's necessarily right because that's views and I post every single day, so that'll rack up. But
it's not as if you're tapping into the entire market, though, is it? So
what I'm saying is, like,
you've probably got a slice of it.
If you took every single person out there who owns DJ decks, well, we know there's more than 1 million people on the planet who own DJ decks, right? Straight up. Let's just say you take an average cross section of random 1 million people. Do not tell me 800,000 of those are producing music. They're not. They're just not.
How important then would you say that a formal music education is to your career?
You don't need a formal music education. Like, I mean, I'm not pitching anything here, but I teach people how to produce music, right?
And, you can plug away, dude.
Well, I can't. Well, I mean, I teach people how to produce dance music, right? And I've got many people to a point. I think I've had over 50 people signed to record labels now, right? And these are people who came along and they knew nothing at all. Now, this isn't me pitching what I'm doing. This is me just saying many of these people don't play an instrument, had never made music before in their lives, had absolutely no idea what they're doing. We're talking people from brain surgeons to people who are like nurses, doctors, like the most random walks of life, and they've got record labels. And so the answer is this. And it really is this, okay? The way I taught myself how to make the music that I'm making now, and you can go and listen to it. You can just go and type in Phil Harris music, or just type in Phil Harris on Spotify. You can hear it, right? I figured this out by literally taking my favorite music and putting it into music software and then analyzing it. Like, how many beats and bars are in the intro? How many beats and bars are in the breakdown, the drop? Like, okay, well, there's the song structure. Because think of it like this. And especially when I started, the music that I was listening to a lot was this festival house, like Martin Garrix's early day Martin Garrix, like Animals. Well, that track has had, I think, over 1 billion streams, right? And it was huge. It went to number one in something like 27 countries. Well, you can literally count how many beats and bars are in the intro, the breakdown, the build, the drop, the second breakdown, the next build, the next drop, and the outro drops. And if you map it out on music production software with lines, just like, there's the intro, there's the breakdown, there's the build, there's the drop, and then take away Animals, you've got the song structure for Animals. And it's like, well, just use that song structure in every song moving forward. If it worked for him, just use it on every single track moving forward. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, now we can go into it in even more detail. We can say, well, what was the BPM? Oh, it's 128. Cool. Well, we're going to set our project to 128. Cool. Well, what elements has he got in? Well, there's a kick drum. It's like, cool. Well, is the kick drum going the entire way through the song? No, he took the kick drum out during the breakdown. Right. We'll take the kick drum out during the breakdown. Right. And before you know it, you go through every single element. Like, where did the vocals come in? When did the melody come in? What sound is he using? How many notes are in his melody? Like, if you just go in and start analyzing your favorite music and then just go and recreate a track using the same patterns they've used, same strum structure, same BPM, same key, so you know what notes they're using, put your instruments where they put their instruments, use the effects where they're using the effects, and you just follow along. You'll make a pretty freaking awesome track very quickly in the first couple of weeks.
It's quite simple when you put it that way, isn't it? It's like break down what made that song. Yeah. And you don't necessarily have to duplicate it. You can follow the same structure, like you said, but just sort of have your own take on each one of those elements.
I've had many tracks signed to record labels, and they were started out with me just hacking another song. Just, I'm going to copy this song. And I copy it and copy it and copy it. And then at the last minute I go, well, I'm just going to change the bass notes around. I'm going to change the melody notes around. I'm going to put a slightly different vocal in there. And if I played you the track that got signed and the track that I copied, you'd be like, oh my God, you've literally stolen half of that track. But even if you played that track to the original artist, they wouldn't necessarily say,
no one have a clue.
You wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing.
Like an artist, innit?
Yeah, here's the thing that people have to understand. Producers make music for DJs, right? And DJs have to have certain things going on in a track for the DJing to work, like a 16-bar intro, 16-bar outro. Each section of the song is 16 bars, and this is something you learn as you get into DJs. Like, every section of a song is like an 8 or 16 bars, and you can count along and go, wow, at the end of 8 or 16 bars, something changes in the track. It's very formulaic. Now, some people might turn around and say, I hate music because it's so formulaic. But it's like, dance music is not going anywhere, and it's going to stay in the charts for many years to come. And there's going to be many, many artists out there who get number one hits with a very formulaic track. And so just learn the formulas and start doing it, because why can't you? This is what I said, like, it's fun. Because we all understand dance music and we've heard it so many times before. As soon as you start putting it into place, you go, right, this is the build, this is the drop, this is what happens here, this is what happens here. You'll get so excited because it'll sound so familiar so quickly.
I'm sure we've all heard or watched the video of of like the small little band, and they're like, right, I'm going to show you like how many songs you can make with just these four chords. Yeah, and then they play like every single chart-topping song that they're possibly is just with just different setup of the four same chords. You know, so you've got the guidelines. You know that it's all there for you, ready to go. It's just like putting your flavor on it, essentially.
Yeah. I haven't done it, but I think you could apply what I do to pop music. Yeah. Like if you said, right, Phil, you've got a year and you've got to write a track that's just got to go to number one, I would get all the number ones of the last 2 years, and I'd find out the length of the song, the key of the song. Are they male or female vocals? Which one's more likely to get to number one? Cool. What is the song? What kind of chord structure? What kind of bass lines are going on in this song? Right. What are the songs about? Is it about like overcoming something, or like being strong, or like go and listen to any Westlife song ever? It's about like overcoming something that people can put their hands in the air. It's euphoric and everyone can sing along, like the song's about them. You know, like if you can create a track that's got that BPM, that structure, it's something that people can sing and totally relate to, you know, this is why people talk about relationships and stuff a lot. If you just figure out, like Ed Sheeran has figured it out. Like everyone thinks he's a genius. I don't want to say Ed Sheeran is not a genius. I think he's very, very good. But he's very good at doing one thing very well, which is he's figured out the formula for pop music.
Which is what you said at the start, though, isn't it? Find this one thing and then go balls to the wall on that one thing. Yeah. You know, just be the best in the world at doing that one thing. And look, guys, it works. Who'd have thought?
It just works. So, and like, even the thing with Instagram as well, it's like, oh, you don't know what to do in Instagram. Well, I tell you what, do something random every day for 30 days. Look back at your Instagram and go, that one did better than all the others. Now, do 30 days of that one, but maybe change it slightly. Different camera angle, different lighting, different clothes, okay, that one did really well. In fact, those 5 did well. Well, what have they all got in common? Oh, they were all less than 20 seconds. That's interesting. Next month, you're going to do the same thing. All have to be under 20 seconds. All have to be like that. And do that. And you do that, you won't fail. It's just, it's impossible. You're just you're letting Instagram tell you what to do.
Yeah, even easier. Just go on, where is it you want to be? It's up here. I want to be like this person. Go on their page, see what worked. Do that.
Yeah. Look at their most popular stuff and read
it. Yeah. It's not hard, guys. So in your view then, go on.
I was just going to say, even when I started my YouTube channel, there were times where I was like, I don't know what to do a YouTube video on now. And I'd go and look at what the other guys were doing their YouTube tutorials on, and I'd sometimes completely steal it. Like, oh, well, Crossfader said this, DJ Carlos has said this person said this. I'm going to amalgamate them and make my own version with my own slight spin and my own opinion on it. Guess what? Those videos did ridiculously well, 500,000 views.
Of course. Yeah. And for those people that think that that's bad to be stealing, like it's not at all. All you're doing by like sort of going there, and it's research. You know, it's like it's what do the people want to see. I want to provide the most value that I can possibly give the people. That's what we've already reacted with. How can I make that better? There we go.
Yeah.
And I would ask
those people as well, they've probably done the same thing. They've probably piggybacked and altered content a little bit from someone else that's done really well in the first place.
Yeah. Well, look at cinema. They don't want to make new films because the risk is too high. But that film, like look at Disney, they're just remaking all of their films in live actions because they've done really well already. They know that they've got the secret. Like they're not going to risk like hundreds of millions on the line for something to flop when they can simply just say, well, no, it worked really well before. Let's just do that one again.
Yeah, totally. It's 100%. And you know what? It's interesting about the whole Disney thing, right? Or the Avengers. You know, it's like Avengers 5, 6, 7. Like they know that there's an audience there who like that model, who are going to come and look for that exact thing, right? So you realize this more and more as you produce as well, because a lot of people say to me, well, I don't know what music I like. I like a bit of tech house. I like James Hype. Then I also like the melodic stuff. And I like a bit of deadmau5. And, well, I don't know what I want to produce. And I say, well, just produce whatever you want to start. Like, let's just start there. But the further you go into it, you begin to realize you have to have your sound. You have to have a sound. Because if a festival is going to book you, they need to know that you're going to fit in with the other DJs in that lineup. Or they need to know that you're going to fit the mold. And so if I've got one dubstep song, one Afro beats track, one tech house track, they'll be like, where does this guy fit? Yeah. And also, you want to get to a point where people go, oh, David Guetta's got a new song coming out soon. I already know what that's going to sound like, pretty much. Or like, especially with like Avicii, when it was like, oh, Avicii's got a new track out, I was like, I know what this is going to sound like. It's going to be unbelievably catchy. It's going to be probably a bit of a country and western kind of slight vibe mixed with EDM. It's going to be probably written in a major key, and it's going to be catchy as hell. That melody is going to be, I'm going to know it within 2 times of hearing it, right? And by the way, you can go as deep as you want into this. Like, how many notes is he using? What is the relationship between those notes? Like, it's a third up, it's a fifth down, blah, blah, blah. You can look into all this stuff and really begin to analyze this stuff, right? If you want to make music like a certain person, you can really go deep into analyzing it. Anyway, the point is this. That's perfect, because Avicii would carry on making Avicii-style music. Everyone knew exactly what to expect. Everyone would hear it and love it, and that it just goes round and round and round, Whereas if Avicii came out and said, okay, I've just done a dubstep track, people would be like, what? And then people go, I don't think I like Avicii anymore. Yeah. And you're running a hell of a risk there, because it's like, just give people what they want.
This might tie into what you're saying then. What do you think is the biggest mistake that like novice producers or DJs make when they're first starting out?
Okay, so I'll answer this like on a technical level, and then I'll answer it on a broad level, and then I'll answer it on a technical level. So on a broad level, I think. Hold on, let me have a think now. Well, actually. Yeah, I think I was going to see, let me just run you through the thoughts in my head. I was going to say the problem I think a lot of new producers, I think the ultimate issue that a lot of new producers have is they guess, right? And I've shown this on my Instagram before. Like, if you get someone you're just going to have to visualize this. You get someone to draw a cartoon horse, you're going to get something looking pretty crappy, right? But if you've got someone to trace a horse, you can get somebody who would normally have drawn a crappy picture of a horse with 2 dots as eyes and a round head to draw something that looks pretty freaking good. Yeah. And it's the same person, and both took the same amount of time. But here's the problem. If you said to somebody, right, you want to be an artist, right? So we're going to get you to draw something. I'm not going to give you any reference. Just draw a horse or draw a bird or draw a bike. Go and try and draw a bike now and just laugh at how bad your bike will look, right? And then say, right, well, there's your bike. And so let me just get this straight. That's the bike you just drew, right? And you want to become one of the top artists on the planet. And they go, oh, God, no, forget it. Don't look at me, right? But if they went and traced a bike and said, like, right, that's the first bike you've ever drawn. That's pretty good, right? They go, yeah, it is pretty good. It's like, cool. Well, now we can just color it in. We'll work on a bit of a background, and that's your first ever freaking picture of a bike. You're going places, buddy. And it's like, yeah, I am going places, you know? And there's the big mistake people make, is they guess how to make dance music. They throw a kick drum in, they throw a synth in there. It sounds like a bloody nightmare. And they go, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Forget it. No, I tried it once. I didn't know what I was doing. Forget it. Whereas if it was like, right, before you do anything, we're going to take your favorite song, and we're going to follow along with exactly what they did. And then you play back their song and you say, right, just go, that first song you've ever made, just go and play it to your friends, play it to your wife, boyfriend, play it to whoever you want, and just watch the look on their face. And they'd be like, people were blown away. And this is what I do with the people I work with. It's like, listen to that. That's your first ever freaking song right there. Like, imagine what you could be making in a year from now. And it's like the two attitudes going into it. It's like, you know that film Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow? And the whole concept behind the film is the whole film is at the beginning, she misses a train, right? And they show her two lives in parallel, that if she got the train and if she didn't get the train. And it's kind of like the butterfly effect, right? It's like, all these different things, chain events happen, and her life was totally different 1 year later if she just got on the train. Now, that's missing a train. Imagine if somebody had a dream of making dance music and they guessed. And this person A guessed and felt demoralized and slumped. And this person made something pretty freaking epic. And now imagine those two journeys. And this is what I always say to people. We've all got artists we love in our head, right? People who, like, you're having a down day, you go and listen to their music. You're going for a run, you're trying to hit a PB on bench press, you put that music in because it gets you going. Imagine if that artist who's changed your life had said to themselves, I'm not very good at this. I'm going to give up. Imagine that. Imagine if Avicii had tried to make music and was like, I just don't know what I'm doing. Just forget it. Don't look at me. Don't listen to my music. Imagine if Avicii had done that. It would literally change millions of people's lives. Think of the disservice you are doing to your future fans by not pursuing your dream. Just think about that. Like, imagine for a second my career goes where I want it to go. And one day, one of my tracks, as extreme as it sounds, stops someone from jumping off that bridge. Or makes somebody, gives them the balls to go and ask that girl out. Or whatever thing it might have done in their life. Exactly, they hit that PR. Exactly, they do it. They do that thing, which then leads on to them tearing their pec. And spending 3 months in hospital. Yeah. You know, but this is exactly my point is the biggest mistake people make is they get so freaking demoralized in the first hurdle and give up. And it's like, don't guess.
When I started learning how to DJ, all I did was went and download all the songs that were in DJ sets, that like my favorite DJ sets, and I just learned to mix them. And then after a while of mixing them, I was just like, right, okay, well, I think that this song will actually work better by here. And then when you have that bass and you have all these songs that you know as well that you love, and you start throwing them in, that actually works even better by there. Now I started just mixing, just copying somebody's set. But like literally just like a week later, I've got entirely my own music, just following like the sort of like same kind of like journey as what they were doing, because I was still learning, but it's all just like songs that I thought would fit better. Yeah,
100%. It works. Like, get your favorite DJ sets, download all the songs, and put the exact same DJ set together. Like, and play it to your friends. Your friends will be blown away. It's like, I just kind of copied. They don't care. They just love the music.
They just want music,
it's the same thing with producing your own music, you know? It's like, I work with people and I always like get them to reference songs, as we've talked about, right? And I do this because we put it at the top of the project and then copy what's in that below it, right? And I have people say sometimes like, Phil, shall I just copy the song exactly? And I tell them a story about one of the artists I work with called Blaine. And I remember him. He didn't have a clue about music. He didn't know what a chord was. He didn't know anything at all. He was an ex-military guy, right? And he's now one of the head coaches who works in my program. And I remember the first time, his first 3 songs were identical replicas of the tracks he was copying. And I was like, he was like, does it matter that they're exactly the same? I was like, not really, because you're doing a good job and you're learning a lot by just copying this song exactly. I said, but look, just take one of these songs you've made now and just change the chords, change the vocals, change the bass line, and change the drums. And he went away, came back 2 days later with a freaking amazing track. And it sounded similar to his reference track, but it was his track. It got signed to a record label. His first, his first 2 or 3 tracks got signed to record labels.
Amazing.
And it just came from not guessing and just copying what works well, you know? Like, you know, I know everyone likes to get all on their high horse about this, but, you know, Jimi Hendrix didn't invent the guitar. You know, Jimi Hendrix didn't invent the chords he was playing or the notes, or he didn't invent a new scale that didn't exist beforehand. He was following a scale. You know, like most of the Beatles songs, they have seen interviews with them. They listened to other songs that they liked and stole chord sequences, you know?
Yeah,
and
for
no
sure.
No one says to the Beatles, oh yeah, but they just copy people.
Yeah.
Put it this way, music is a defined space, right? Like, you can't break outside it. You can't break outside the walls.
You can't just go put random notes with each other. It's just not going to work. You have your
work.
guidelines. Yeah.
Yeah, you come up with any melody ever, someone else has probably done it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
And that's why it's so difficult when it comes to like copyrighting music, and that's why there's always lawsuits in the thing, because it's something sounds similar, you know. And I think Ed Sheeran was in court as well, wasn't he, not long ago, for exactly that. So how would you say technology has changed the DJ or producing landscape recently? Because I don't know whether you know much about it or whether you can talk much on it, but I'm paying a lot of attention to AI and how people are using AI in the space. And I think that's going to be obviously extremely revolutionary, whether that's just making like little hooks to go over the top or whatever. But yeah, what's your thoughts? How would you say?
Well, okay, so we'll talk about DJing and then we'll talk about music production. Okay, so with DJing, I remember back when I was playing, you know, open format or weddings, and I remember thinking, even like 10 years ago, if somebody comes up with an app where they can get their phone, angle it at a dance floor, and basically say, right, we want to fill the dance floor, and you can just get AI to play a sequence of different music from different genres and stuff. And then as soon as people move on to the dance floor, just write more of that music, and find what's popular in that genre, and then know how to stitch songs together, which I don't think would be impossible for AI to do. I think so many DJs would be out of a job. Imagine if you went to a club now and the DJ was an AI thing. Say there was a technology now, right, that was put in millions of clubs across the world, and it all had information on what songs were popular at the moment, what songs got people moving, and it just knew which songs would fill the dance floor quickly. And it was running off data that it got from different clubs in the area, in the country, from different parts of the world. And this thing just knew what songs to get people on and knew once they were there how to keep them there, and monitored the movement, the energy levels. I just think it would be game over for so many DJs.
Yeah.
Having said that, right, I actually think that would be unbelievably sad if that happened. And I think there would be a certain magic that would be lost from good DJs. Right. I think DJs who are just kind of there and, you know, just, well, we know they're liking this, and so I'll play this next. I think they would be at risk. But I think people who are creating their own mashups and creating an experience and putting songs together that people wouldn't really think about, and remixes, mashups, I think that kind of thing is, I don't know. I'm torn on this one really, because I don't know whether I've got, you know, other people's thoughts influencing what I'm saying here. Because I know what I just said then about a computer reading a dance floor and playing the right songs at the right moment is not very popular, especially for somebody who runs a channel teaching people how to DJ. But I will preference it by saying this. I've been to gigs before where the DJ is playing technically brilliant transitions and no one's dancing. And I've been to gigs before, where there's an iPod playing and people are going crazy because it's their favorite music, right? And we all, like, let's face it, what would you rather? Go somewhere with all your buddies, get pissed and dance to music you absolutely love, knowing that it was probably a robot playing it and there was no human DJ? And that's option A. Or option B, go and there's a human DJ, but, you know, he's going to play some of the songs you don't really like and he's going to get it wrong a couple of times and he's going to lose the vibe and you might want to go into a different room in the club for a bit because you're not really liking what he's playing at the moment. Well, the obvious answer is we'd all rather dance to the iPod, wouldn't we? Yeah. Now, imagine if that iPod just got it right every single time. And it's like, oh my God, it's playing the perfect throwback songs at the perfect moment. Like it's noticing the crowd's beginning to die off. So then it plays that one track that it knows is going to bring everyone back. It cuts off that song early at the perfect moment because it doesn't like the fact that people on the dance floor stop moving. Like if you introduced AI into that, as much as us DJs might not like it, the clubs would love it because people would get more drunk. They'd buy more drinks. They'd be dancing longer. They'd stay later that night. How can you compete with that? I don't know how you can.
Well, this actually kind of ties into the thing that deadmau5 was saying recently about pre-recorded sets.
Yeah.
And what's your opinion on that? Because obviously, if your set is pre-recorded and you can see that the crowd's dying down, you can't make an adjustment to that set, obviously.
Yeah, no, you're right. And this is another interesting one. This is the big difference between open format and playing the clubs I was talking about, right? So open format, for anybody who doesn't know, is where you go along and you just play to the crowd, right? Now, the club might say, we're a hip-hop club, or we're a pop club, or whatever, and then you play within the confines of that space. But open format generally means you can play in hip-hop 1 minute, dance the next minute. You're just keeping the crowd happy and you're doing what I just explained that AI thing could potentially do, just keeping people on the dance floor. We have to remember all DJs are really is a tool for clubs to make more money. Like, let's face facts. Even when Avicii played Ushuaia, that's all that's actually going on, right? Ushuaia need to make as much money as possible through ticket sales and drinks. That's it. Okay. So straight up, if you can do that, that club will bring you back. If you play and for some reason that night people stay longer, they buy more drinks, you're going to get invited back. It really is as simple as that, right? So that's open format. And then you've got what is this kind of world I'm moving into now, which is where I want to play house nights and I want to go and I want to play house music and I want to start introducing people to maybe house tracks they haven't heard. Maybe I want to go and play one of my unreleased tracks, right? And I can't do that if I'm going to Oceana. It's just that people just be like, what is this? I've never heard it before. They'd leave. Whereas if you're in a house night, people are in the vibe, they're in the mood, and then you drop one of your own tracks in. That's the turn up knowing what tracks I'm going to play. Like you guys came to Ministry, you saw me play. I had a very good idea the tracks I was playing. Like in the hour I played, I probably played 25 tracks, maybe off the top of my head. And I probably had about 40 tracks on my USB. Like there wasn't a huge amount of room for error, really. I kind of knew what I was going to be playing, if I'm honest. Now, was I looking at the audience and kind of seeing if they were liking it? Yeah, I was. But ultimately, if they weren't liking it, I was in trouble because I turned up with my set that I knew I was playing. And if they didn't like the music, there was not a huge amount I could. It's not like I was going to switch it up to Beyonce halfway through, you know. So
I'm sure you played a couple Beyonce tracks that night.
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, all the single ladies. I opened with all the.
That was me. That was me.
Yeah. But you know, like, and so then we arrive at pre-recorded sets. Like, you know, the DJ of the moment, who is massively respected by DJs and producers alike is just James Hype, right? He's making amazing tracks in the studio and he's doing some wizardry shit on the DJ decks, and it's impressive. But, you know, I also know from watching videos of James Hype that he's not making it up. Like, he's not standing there going, do you know what a cappella would go over this song right now? Is that one? He knows exactly what a cappella is going to work over what. And the way he does it is he just groups 3 or 4 tracks together. And so, like, he'll go into a set, kind of like, instead, like, say, I'll go into DJ and I go, right, I'm playing this song, then I'm going to play this song, then I'm going to play this song. Well, James Hype will go, well, after this group of songs and acapellas, I'm going into this group of songs and acapellas. He just does it in a performance way, right? I know I'm going to bring that song in, and I'm going to bring in that acapella at that point, and that's going to bleed me into this song where I'm going to bring in that acapella. But it's all pre-recorded. Not pre-recorded. It's all predetermined. And so the other thing you've got to think then is, you know how I said, well, I turned up with, 40 songs. He probably turns up with 40, 35 groups of those. And so then you begin to question, well, okay, so I've got 2 things to say on this, right? Well, if you're playing the level that deadmau5 is playing, I don't even think he's reading the crowd at that point. He's going along and playing the best of, right? I mean, I've been to see deadmau5, and, you're waiting for those certain songs you love. And then you're aware he's going to play some of his new stuff, which you're not going to know, and you just deal with it because nobody knows it yet. It's the same if you go and see any artist on the planet. You know they're going to have to play some of their new stuff, which is boring, right? It's just true. It's like, well, we can't sing along to this one, and that song's not the reason we came to see you anyway. But anyway, so he's not necessarily watching the crowd going, are these 20,000 people grooving to this? These 20,000 people are grooving to it anyway. They're at a festival. They're watching deadmau5. They're going to love it either way, right? So at that point, he probably isn't even really deciding what song he's going to play next. At that point, he probably knows exactly what song he's going to play. In fact, he probably does need to know what song he's going to play because the guys who are working in lighting and the guys at the back need to know exactly when the set's going to start, exactly when it's going to end, when to send off the fire cannons, when to set off the fireworks. And so at that point, if he knows I'm bringing in this song, I'm mixing from this point to this point, and I'm going to do that for an hour, and it's going to land exactly at this exact moment here, which is going to align with the fireworks and pyrotechnics. At that point, what is he doing? Just practicing beat matching? Hardly. It's so predetermined anyway at that point. At that level, does it really matter if Martin Garrix is actually mixing or whether he's pretending he's mixing? Because I've been to see Martin Garrix quite a few times now. I've never heard a single mistake. I'm not saying he's not DJing live, but it's freaking flawless. And whether he is doing it live or not, I don't know. See, I've seen other DJs who are big names, like Oliver Heldens, so I've heard him, and I'm like, oh, shit, he fucked that one up. Like, I can hear the beat matches off, and I can hear it's a cock up. And as a DJ, I go, well, that's kind of cool. I now know he's DJing live. But did it enhance my enjoyment of watching Oliver Heldens? Not really. Like, as a DJ, until you're at the top at that level, your job is kind of to be invisible, right? Like, if you make a mistake that's so bad when you're DJing in a club that people stop dancing and look at you like, what the fuck is the if you've made a mistake that's that bad, that's not good. You want to be invisible. You want your transitions and stuff to be so flawless, people don't even know you're there. And cast your mind back to when we were in university. I didn't turn up and stand and look at the DJ all night. I didn't give a crap that there was a DJ in the room. I was trying to pull. I was trying to, getting pissed on my buddies. I had other things on my mind. Didn't even pay attention to it. Anyway, so long story short, does it matter if deadmau5 turns up and has it pre-recorded or not? Not really. Let's face it. They're up on a platform. No one can see them DJing. Yeah. So that's number one. And then the second thing I'd say is this. James Hype is doing very clever stuff on the DJ decks. And we know it because we've got some footage of someone standing over his shoulder, filming him doing clever stuff. And we can see the crowd reacting. Now, let's say we never had a single bit of footage from over James Hype's shoulders, and we only ever saw looking up at him, and we never knew what he was doing. Then the question is, would it matter if he was actually layering an a cappella over a track? Or would it, or had he just done it beforehand and it was an excellent mashup and he just pressed play? Does it make any difference to us as an audience? Even though white noise thing, he puts all this white noise and stuff in, like, well, you can do that in Ableton. You can do that in music production software, adding these sounds in. Like, if that sound had just been added in beforehand, if it enhanced the track that much, then he could have just pre-recorded it. If we never saw it, would it matter? Because that's what people who turn up to see him live see.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things, like, you follow the logic down the rabbit hole, you get to a point where you go, like, do people who are standing there pissed watching James Hype care that there's that white noise effect being added live, or had it been added beforehand? No, I don't think so.
It's about the experience, isn't it? That's all that they really care about. They're going there for the experience, to party, to listen to music, and probably pull.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's just a soundtrack to pulling.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's all they really care about.
Yeah.
Yes, it's now you've put it in that perspective. I sort of thought about it with an artist. My all-time favorite artist is Calvin Harris. I'll put it out there. If I went to see Calvin Harris, am I going to be concerned about if he's playing live or not? No. Am I concerned about if he's going to be playing the tracks I know? Yes.
No.
It's interesting though, because
that's pretty much it.
It's interesting to think about, because you would pay €100 to go to Ushuaia to see Calvin Harris, right?
Yeah.
When you just want to hear your tracks that you already know, that are already released. So what's stopping you from paying 10, 20 euros to go and see somebody who's just going to play those songs?
Yeah, I can answer that. It's hype. It's a belief that it's going to be a good night, right? Think back to being in uni. Well, think back to getting into a club with a fake ID. If I went clubbing at 17 and me and all my mates, it doesn't even have to be all my mates. This is the craziest thing. I could have got into a club with a fake ID and only 3 of us got in and the rest got turned away. It's going to be the best night ever because we just got in, right? And it's the hype and the belief that we're going to have a good night that made it a good night. If we went clubbing at 16, 17 and all of the boys got in, game over. Like, that's it. It's on. Like, we are not leaving until this club closes, and it's going to be epic from beginning to end. Then fast forward 10 years when you're like 27, 28. It's like, there's no real magic to it now. We know we're going to get in. The night's just, it's exactly that. Like, say you go and see Calvin Harris. Well, you're going to see Calvin Harris. This is a big deal. We're telling everyone about it. They're going to be there. We turn up. Oh my God, there he actually is. This is crazy. But it's just your belief that it's going to be epic that makes it epic. Because like you said, if you got into Ushuaia, it's like, right, big announcement. By the way, Calvin Harris isn't playing tonight. It's someone else, but it's going to be the exact same set. Yeah, that would dampen the night slightly. But I think that's because people would be thinking, well, but I paid to see Calvin Harris. And they can say, no, but it's the exact same set. It was pre-recorded anyway. So it's exactly the same thing. Like, don't worry about it. It still ruins the night. But that's because your expectation was here and it's just been brought down. So go back.
Also, I think a lot of it is that human connection. So those songs that you've really connected with, I think is about actually seeing that person who has made those songs, who has like put that.
You can't see him though. You're a mile away.
Well, it depends.
You're a mile away and your eyes are like this.
Yeah.
Calvin Harris at 6'7", you could see him from anywhere.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this is a really interesting one. I think it's a belief that it's going to be a good night. The expectations meeting your reality. That's it. Like, I expect tonight to be good. I expect to see Calvin Harris. I expect to push my way to the front. I expect there to be hot girls there because it's Ushuaia. And you turn up and it does all of those things and you go, get in there. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. That means it was a good night, right?
Yeah.
And you're willing to hand that money over beforehand because the reality of hitting expectations is so high, because that's why he's there.
And you just paid £100 for a ticket. It's got to be good now.
Yeah.
You know,
it's gotta be.
Like,
You're
that's
invested.
the other thing. Exactly, you're invested in it at that point.
I don't know. That's another reason why I haven't seen him live yet. Just because I don't want that bubble to be burst. You know.
Well,
I don't want to go there and have a terrible time.
Interesting thing for you. We were over in Vegas and he was playing, and to get in, it was $150 for men, and women got in free.
Yeah.
So if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about the entire industry,
yes,
then I don't know what will. Like, let's face it. You know, it's like I watched this interview with Chris Lake, and Chris Lake said it's the weirdest thing because I'm so passionate about making this music. But he said, I'm making music for people who are off their tits and in the dark, like people who want to be like completely pissed or on whatever in the dark, and I'm making music for that demographic.
Yeah.
Which is a weird old thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a strange concept, isn't it? It's probably better not to spend. It's probably better not to spend too much time thinking about it.
It's so weird. Say aliens came down to this planet, right? And you had to explain dancing to them. Just imagine that. So you go like, okay, well, like we have this thing called music. That's like we can hear these beats, right? And it's like pulsing sound waves. And so we move our bodies in unusual ways or jump up and down to this pulse that we hear.
Do you know, it's actually neurological. There is something in our brain that when they hear these sound waves, it wants to move to it.
And I can tell you why that's true, because we've got an 11-month-old baby. Like you see him doing this when like things come on, and it's like, he's dancing?
I absolutely love it. It sounds a bit weird, and I probably got to word this correctly, but
you love children.
One of my favorite things ever is just watching children just bop to music. There's just something so raw, so natural about it, and like they're clumsy, they're falling on their ass, they're getting back up, but like just the movement to the music, I love I love watching.
You love watching children.
Cancelled.
I completely agree. It's kind of interesting when you see like these tribes in these like tribes that are still living in like the woods and they haven't been subjected to iPhones yet, right? And like they're dancing and stuff, and it's like, because let's face it, well, Western people go and dance, right? Well, what we're really doing is we're dancing how we think we should dance based on seeing other people dance. And it's all kind of awkward. And I think that's why people don't like dancing, because they think they're not good at dancing and they don't know what to do and they feel like everyone's watching. And it goes back down to the insecurity thing we talked about earlier on. But I bet you these people in these tribes are not awkwardly going, oh my God, they're all looking at me right now. You know, it's I don't even really know what point I'm trying to make there, but it's just like, there's something, I mean, I think that even the fact we've got a heartbeat, like there's like everything's very much to a beat. You go for a walk, it's like rhythmic. You know, you run, you do anything, it's rhythmical. Like there's something about humans that's just rhythmical. And I guess you could say it about any animal then, but you know, why do animals not really enjoy music? Although, you know, there are clips of people playing the piano to elephants and the elephants all just standing around watching. Oh God, anyway, we've gone way off piece again here, but yeah, it's something really, I don't even know how we got onto this subject.
Yeah. let's reel it back then. Give us one piece of software or gear that you think's dramatically changed your approach to production.
Oh, well, I mean, it would just be Ableton. Like, well, Ableton is just music production software. So you can get Logic, FL Studio. There's loads of other ones, GarageBand. But, like, just Ableton in itself. Like, all you got to do, right, is go on and Google what studios looked like 20 years ago. And you see these big rooms with bongos over there, pianos over there, microphones, leads, wires everywhere, a separate room where people sit with a big mixing desk. And it's like, now Google how Skrillex made his first album. It's a hotel room, a laptop, and some headphones. And he is a multi-millionaire. There's nothing more life-changing than that. I can promise you this, right? Electronic music is everywhere. Even regular music is made on a computer now. Like, even if you're in a band, you've got to have knowledge of how to produce music, recording your guitar in, whatever, right? It's not going anywhere, electronic dance music. It's here to stay. And the difficulty is it's now possible for, as I kind of said at the beginning, it's now possible for anybody to make very professional sounding music, which brings its own challenges. Because now it's like, how do you stand out in a world where everyone has all the same samples, all the same sounds, all the same synthesizers? How do you stand out and sound unique? How do I make a track that people go, oh, I can tell Phil Harris made that track? Really difficult thing to do that. So it brings its own challenge. Like, Ableton is so freaking good. And if you bear with it and you get the hang of it, you'll get the hang of it quickly. It's revolutionary to everything, and music software in general. I'm not necessarily saying, it has to be one over the other, although Ableton is awesome. So that's it right there. Like, just being able to, just to give you an idea for people who don't produce, all music is written in a certain key, right? So what that means is, we've all heard of things like A minor, C major. Basically, if you look at a piano roll or any instrument, but it's the easiest on the piano roll, certain notes sound nice together. So, for example, C major is all the white notes on a piano. So if you sat at the piano and just hit random keys together, as long as you're just hitting the white notes, the chances are the chords that you play, even if you don't know what you're doing, will sound pleasing because they harmonically work with each other. So all tracks are written in a certain key, which means there's certain notes in every single song, and they stick to those notes. There's a way in Ableton where you can bring up a piano roll, because the way it works is you draw in notes. You just literally double click and it draws in these little notes, and then the thing moves across. Like, say I put a note here and a note here, go beep, beep, like this. But obviously you change the sounds around, move it around, you've got a bass line, right? Now there's certain ways in Ableton, you just say, right, remove any notes that aren't in this key. And it'll just go, and it'll just give you the piano without those notes. So now I can write a song in any key with no music knowledge. I just remove all the notes that aren't in that key and just start putting notes in. So to a point where you could literally go da 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 random notes, and it'll sound pretty cool. So, like, when we talk about like technology, it's so far beyond what you can imagine. Not to mention, you know how YouTube works and Instagram works with algorithms. There's programs out there. There's a website out there called Splice, where you can go and you can just download samples, right? And most tracks these days are made from Splice samples. You can literally go in and type in kick drum, tech house drum loop, tech house bass line, drag drop, tech house vocal, drag drop, and in about 30 seconds, you've got something that could literally be played on Radio 1.
So,
like, and the best thing is this program works like everything else. It brings up all the top samples first. Because the way it works, obviously, is the people who create the samples want you to download their samples. So they'll tag them better. They'll make it so it's like SEO friendly. So you get these good samples. And then top artists come out, like Mark Knight, who owns Tool Room, which is like a big record label in the tech house scene. And he just releases sample packs. He's like, oh, you want to get signed to Tool Room? Well, you could start by downloading Mark Knight's sample packs, right? And then making music with that. And lo and behold, people who get signed probably using Mark Knight's sample packs, I've got a couple of tracks I'm going to try and get signed to Tool Room, so I will let you know if they do.
Yeah, and take us on that journey.
Using that, yeah,
awesome.
So yeah, you're not going to beat it. Like, either of you two now could, even if you had no knowledge of music production, could get Ableton and you could put together a very cool beat in an hour.
So you don't need any accessories or anything, just a laptop and Ableton.
And some probably good headphones.
Yeah.
And that's it. But either of the headphones you two are wearing would work.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And then you've got AI tools as well that will master all those tracks these days. So
yeah, you can get it mastered. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, because once you understand what mastering actually is, you don't need to get someone else to do it for you. But yeah, it's kind of one of these things where you've got to develop an ear for something. This slightly goes against what I just said. You slightly develop an ear, and this is how you get better. It's like you two could jump in front of Ableton now with no knowledge and put together a beat. But there are stages of like, right, how do we build that into a full song? How do we create that tension and release in dance music? How do you do this? But all this stuff can be learned. Like I stand there when I'm teaching these students, and sometimes I'll just make a track in front of them. And, they're kind of jaw on the floor, kind of like, you're so talented. And I would say it's not that at all. It's just I've learned it. I understand how it works, and I can go ahead and do it. It's a bit like Ed Sheeran. Get out the guitar. He knows those 4 chords. He knows the kind of rhythms. He knows the kind of things he should be singing about. He knows the emotive stuff he could say that's going to pull on people's heartstrings. And we could watch him and go, "What? You just did that?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I've made 1,000,000 songs. I know exactly what to do." Which
I think your point is the barriers to entry are so minimal now because of all the technology that's available to you. But to become a master, obviously you need to be putting the reps in. So there's a clear difference between making something that works or something functional as opposed to having like a chart topping song out there.
Yeah. But the barriers to entry are low, and you can make very, very cool tracks in very little time. And so we could start talking about like the not mastering, but mastery of it, which probably does take time. But if you play your cards right, and you've got, a good teacher, good mentor, you've got a good program that's going to show you how to do it, you get there very quickly, like really, really quickly. I'm not going to plug it. I'm just saying, but because, it's just a case of like, once you know what to do, and you've got someone who can listen to your tracks and say, right, what you've got to do here is this, or you could do this thing here. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Because here's another big mistake. People will, this is what I did, make music and then play it to my wife or play it to a friend who doesn't listen to dance music and go, what do you think? Expecting them to go, it's good, but you could, your snare drum needs to be a couple of decibels louder. And I think your bass line has got a couple of clashing keys with your chords. No one's going to say that. They're just going to go, yeah, it sounds good. And that's a big mistake a lot of people make, is they expect their friends and family to give them feedback, the feedback they need, and that they just won't get it. You do ultimately need somebody who's going to listen to your tracks and say, you've got to tweak this, tweak this, tweak this. Or by the way, or you just do it yourself and you figure it out over 10 years, which is what I did.
Yeah. Well, coming full circle then, in hindsight, what would you have done differently in your career and why?
If I knew now, back when I was in university, I would have just gone all in on music straight away. I wouldn't have farted around with graphic design and, dating websites, and I'd have just gone straight in at like, right, let's nail this. Like, I just absolutely, because I'd have just been like, because I believe I'm going to make it now. So like, I just have that belief. I just believe that in the next couple of years, I'm going to be on festival stages. I'm going to be playing Ibiza. Like, I just have this 100% belief. So like, if I had that belief back then, I could be there by now.
Yeah, that's it. So there we are. For everybody listening who's thinking about it or who's just wants to do it, it's their dream to be a DJ. There's no time like now.
Yeah, just got to go for it. You just remember what we said at the beginning. Where you are, where you want to be, how do you get there? If you know how to get there, do it every day, every so often, stop to check. It's good if they say music production is your thing. Well, it's easy to check because you can make a track, make a couple more tracks, and then say, is this track better than the last track or the last 2 tracks? Yes, it is. Cool, I'm getting there. Keep going.
Yeah. Is there one artist that stands out to you which inspired you to take the journey that you've taken?
Tiesto and Martin Garrix used to have this YouTube thing where it just shows their lives and what they were getting up to and them touring and stuff. And I used to just watch those things thinking like, these guys have got the best lives I could possibly imagine. They're traveling around the world, standing on the stage, playing music they've made out to people. And I think that was just something that just got locked in my head, you know? But I think, unfortunately, I went through a bit of a journey of maybe not believing it was for me, you know, and just thinking like, oh, I'll just do the wedding DJ thing. I'll just play it open format. And then I kind of, over a series of things that happened in my life, I just had to have a serious word with myself and go like, Phil, if you want it, do it, you know, because it's the easiest thing to get stuck with the golden handcuffs. The golden handcuffs is like, my job gives me this money and I need to just keep doing that. And so they're keeping me locked in here, you know? Whereas if you've got the balls to just go, no, I'm going to go for this now. Even if I just keep the golden handcuffs on and really, really dedicate myself to this every moment I can in my spare time. And you can begin to break that mold. I will say this. Almost everybody I know who's had the bollocks to just go for what they want in life usually get there. Yeah. I don't know many people who went all in on trying to get something and they went balls to the wall in and then failed. I don't know many of those people. Everybody I know who just went for, like, I've got a friend at school, he was amazing at art, you know, and he just stuck at it. Art. And he's got his own Netflix show now. And he animated his own Netflix show. It's like he didn't fail, you know, or it's...
I honestly think it's impossible. I think it's impossible for you to put 100% effort into something and not achieve it. That doesn't mean that everybody makes it. Those that don't put 100% into whatever it is, then they're not going to make it. Well,
or they
might get lucky. But everybody who's out there who puts 100% effort into that one thing that they really want, and you've got to really want it, because otherwise you're not going to put the effort in, then you are going to make it. I call it robot mode. There's been a few times in my life where I've identified something that I want to do, and I go, right, that's it. Drop everything, 100% effort on that, and that's me. I tell everybody, no, I'm not coming out. I'm in robot mode. I'm going for it, and it's just got to happen. And I can tell you, like, every time that I've done that, it's worked. You know, like it's come through because I put the work in. It just works.
It's because it's like you said, it's impossible to fail unless you give up.
Yeah,
that's it. Because someone might be watching this now. There'll be one person who's made it this far through the podcast. Probably my mum. Hi, mum.
Hey, mum.
Yeah. So the one person who's made it this far, you know, like, they might look at me, and this is probably exactly what my mum would think. No, I'm joking. I was going to say, they might look at me and say, well, you failed, Phil. You're not playing festivals. You haven't. But the reality is, how can they say I'm failed? Like, I'm on my way up. So it's not failure. It's all like, say, you can apply it to anything. You know, again, weight loss is an easy one. It's like, you don't fail. Like, if somebody's losing weight and you can see that the thing, or they're putting on muscle, they're looking better. Nobody says, yeah, they look better than they did a month ago, but they failed because they haven't got there yet. You know, they say they failed when they stop and they put all the weight back on and go, well, that was looking good at one point. You know, here's the thing I'll say as well. Like, you know, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to show people how I did it. And I'll just be completely honest, every single step I did. And so, because I've never, ever seen a video on YouTube or anywhere from one of these guys who plays Ultra who goes, this is exactly how I did it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're in a unique position now that you've built a very, very solid foundation and a good following as well. So, like, you can do something really unique here of filling in that gap that you were talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think the other thing as well is I think I need to get back on YouTube. I've been on Instagram for a year or so and I haven't been doing much YouTube, and hopefully this is like, I'll kind of get me back into it. Because, you know, like, it's easy enough to just sit there and talk to people about stuff. And I think this is another thing I'll say as well. I think a lot of people get freaked out about how much work they need to do. Whereas actually, just get started, even if it's low. Like, people are like, oh, I haven't got a good camera. Get your phone. Like, just film on your phone. In fact, iPhones have got to a point now. I remember there being a specific point where you had all this big, expensive camera gear and lighting and stuff. And then I don't know which version of the iPhone it was, but I was like, this is it now. I'm not going back to these big cameras now. I mean, everything's on iPhone from this point. And as soon as I made that switch, everything felt easier, quicker, and so don't overthink it. Get your phone, film yourself, upload it. Film yourself, upload it. Just don't overthink it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because you'll constantly come up against obstacles and stuff like that. But the more problems the more you spend on it, the more problems that you're going to have, essentially. So like getting the cameras, there's just another point of failure. Whereas if you just have your phone and you pop your phone up, you can't fail. Like there's no barriers to entry. Everybody's got their tools available to it. Everybody's got an internet connection and a phone. There is no reason why people should be putting it out. And back to what we were saying at the very start, if it's bad, good. Because that bad video that you're putting up is going to teach you far more than if you put up a video and it goes well. You're not going to have a clue.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So just treat them as lessons and keep building. As long as you're getting better every single day, then there is zero way that you can actually fail until you give up.
I just defy anybody to make a vow that they're going to go on TikTok or Instagram. Pick one, don't do both. Pick one. Upload every single day, and at the end of the month review which one did the best and do another month of those and repeat. You will have 50,000 followers by the end of the year. And please prove me wrong. They won't, by the way, because they'll either give up or they'll get 50,000 followers.
Yeah, exactly.
Prove me wrong, please.
We're going to start to put a bow on it right now, but before we do, we have got a question from lovely Laura. So, what is your favorite saxophone song?
Probably Waves. You know that song? Waves by Mr. Props. Is that his name?
You're going to have to sing it for us.
Wave after wave, wave after wave, slowly drifting.
Ah, yes, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's got a sax in it. That's a really difficult one because I don't typically listen to much. Well, I say I don't listen to much sax music. A lot of my music does have sax in it, but I couldn't say my own tracks, could I?
Yeah, you could. That would be even better.
Oh, I've got a track called Zorro that's got a sax in it. I like that one.
Awesome. There we are.
Yeah.
There we go.
We'll link to that one below as well. And to close this out then, what is your question for our next guest?
Well, my question would be, what was their biggest break that they received in their journey?
I like that. That's a really good question.
No deal.
Okay, so finally, what advice would you give to the next generation of producers or DJs out there that you wish someone had given you?
Just copy until you make it. Copy ideas from people. Like, don't try and recreate the wheel. Don't convince yourself you're going to make music that no one's ever heard before. You won't. Just get good at making music that sounds like other people's music until the 11th hour and then start making your music.
Love that. Awesome.
Solid advice.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks for your time, Phil.
Yeah, no worries.
Absolute star. This is really good. To be fair,
Cheers.
I feel like we could be talking for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, it's good.
Do you want the chance to win a €1,200 bar spin and a VIP table at the Eden opening party in Ibiza? Check the description down below for more information.
And if you're still here, you clearly want more. Make sure you check out part 1 with Phil Harris right by here. Hit that like, subscribe button. I'll see you there.